I'm assuming we have the same cameras. Talladega Super Speedway is the place for the CORA International Showdown of Champions. It's a USA versus Canada in a Ryder Cup style winner-take-all showdown here at Talladega Super Speedway. 101 laps of what's going to be nothing but no-holds-barred action on ETV Live. I am Joe Cortez, your announcer for the evening, joined by my partner in crime, Harrison Weidlitz. Harry, what a great show we're going to have tonight. 15 of the best drivers on either side of the border ready to do battle here at Talladega.
Yeah, and these drivers over here at CORA always do a good job of putting on some great races. And we were at Daytona International Speedway not too many weeks ago with the trucks, and they put on a heck of a show that night with a bit of a controversial finish, I guess, with the trouble in green flag pit stops leading to the green flag run to the end. So always put on a good show, these trucks here on super speedways.
It's going to be a lot of fun watching all these trucks make it around here. Again, nothing on the line here tonight. Only pride, only national pride, as you have two sides battling for ultimate victory in this iRacing series. Talladega Super Speedway in the trucks is going to be the venue and the mod for this evening's race. And anytime the trucks come to Talladega, it's always a lot of fun. The weight's different, the balance is different, and the way you drive around this track at all, absolutely different than how you drive, let's say, the Nationwide car or the Sprint Cup car, because it's going to be because of how it's built and how the weight's differentiated. But that being said, I think that all makes it just that much more competitive around this very long 2.67 mile track.
One of the things that sticks out from a driver's perspective is just how good the visibility is with these Silverados. You can really get a good vantage point around you compared to, say, the Cup car or even the Nationwide car. You could just see very well with these trucks. And so the drivers can put their trucks into situations that maybe they wouldn't do with other cars. They could be a little bit more aggressive here or there. So it's definitely interesting how you can race differently at a track where the racing is pretty much the same, but just visibility can be that much of a difference.
You're absolutely right. With the different visibility, with the higher vantage point, and the wider vantage point that these trucks offer, you can see a lot more, you can race a lot more aggressively, and it makes for a lot more opportunity in these very, very powerful trucks. 700 horsepower underneath the hoods of these Chevrolet Silverados, 19 of which will be taking the call to action when we go green flag racing in just a few minutes' time. Tonight's race, very special rules for tonight's race. Not only will it be USA versus Canada, winner takes home $50 as a result of this race. So no matter where you're at, you're still racing for $50 in pride. And of course, on lap 51 of 101, there will be a manual caution, and the admins will reset the field from there. So when we get to lap 51, it doesn't matter what you do the first half of the race. The only thing that matters there is what happens in the second half. But that being said, it's going to take that all-star series, all-star format almost, where at a certain point you have that break, and wherever you're at, that's where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you, with these, the way they have these payouts set up, pretty much half of these drivers are going to come home with something, which is very cool. So you're not going to see any of these guys quit. And certainly I think there's a 2 reset rule where if someone were to find trouble early on, they'd be able to fix their truck up and make another go at it. But I tell you, even though that is a rule here, it didn't tarnish the racing at Daytona any. They were able to keep it green for quite a while, right up until the end. But it certainly, this is one of those races where the way these guys will race each other will really change throughout the evening, just as you said. Just different circumstances. Really, everything about Talladega is how many laps to go just really changes your style. Early on, we should see a lot of patience.
CORA, the one bringing you tonight's race. CORA, the Championship Online Racing Association. One of the fun things they do throughout the year is not only these special events that you see, like the USA Canada Challenge that we're going to have, the Border Wars tonight at Talladega Superspeedway, but they also do the Sunday Money Series, which you can see here on ETV Live, where everybody qualifies in throughout the week, and only the top contenders are invited back for Sundays to have a shot at a really big purse at the end of the week. Now, I don't know about you, Harrison, but I can always use that extra bonus.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the really nice things about this league are those payouts. Certainly there's a lot of incentive. Even if you're not a guy who's going to go up and win a lot of races, you can make a profit in this league running 7th, 6th, etc. But I tell you, it's certainly a big reward if you're able to take home that victory. $50 is a really nice payout. We have, I believe, 17 or 18 trucks here this evening, or 19 rather, somewhere in that vicinity. And so it's a really nice setup.
$50 would be in the regular setup tonight. They're just racing for pride. They're just racing for position. They're just racing to see who are the best drivers around the world. Is it the guys from the USA sporting the red, white, and blue, or is it our brethren up north with the maple leaf on their flag? Only time will tell as we get ready to go for 101 laps around the big monster itself, Talladega Superspeedway. And something that's weighing on all these guys' minds, Terry, is the threat of the big one. All it takes is one lapse in focus, and the next thing you know, your truck is done for the night.
Yeah, and certainly with a race this long, that'll definitely change how these drivers sort of go about this race early on. I think you'll see a lot of people take it real easy at the start, possibly even lose the draft in doing so, trying to keep themselves clean, but you'll definitely see a lot of patience early on.
Harry, real quick, let's get your thoughts about what happens in the beginning of this race. We saw a lot of guys having a lot of different things out here. What's going to be the key to winning this race for your country?
You know what? It's just avoiding the big one. But I think the safest place to be is right up front. So if you can lead a bunch of laps, that's the way to do it.
Leading a lot of laps, especially at that break, will be one of the keys to winning here at Talladega Superspeedway. Before we go, Green Flag Racing, and as they wind down the qualifying session, let's pay tribute to both countries with our national anthem sung by our very own Cactus Cuties, and of course, the national anthem of Canada.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Paying tribute to two of the greatest countries in North America, our Canadian national anthem and the national anthem of the United States of America, as sung by our very own Cactus Cuties. Before we go to Green Flag Racing, let me introduce a man that is very influential, makes everything work here at CORA, the Championship Online Racing Association. That is your COO, Kevin McCarthy. Kevin, a big special night for you guys here at Talladega Superspeedway.
10-4 on that, and I am in China right now, visiting some family, and excited to be in here with you guys, and look forward to a good race this evening.
It's going to make for some very fun racing tonight, Kevin. Before we go through the rundown real quick, talk to us a little bit really quickly about how this all came together and how CORA got this idea to have this international challenge tonight.
Well, I'm going to start in the beginning. I guess Alan Larson, it was his idea to get the border wars going and having the Canadians challenge against the Americans. It was something that was a long time running, unfortunately, because of the amount of population that the Americans have and the interest in NASCAR shows up in the American field. More of the Americans wanted to challenge, but their Canadian field was a little bit shy due to the amount of population change between the two of us. So, but with the border wars, given the excitement of having both the Canadians and the Americans running against each other, might display a little bit of aggressive driving out there. So I'm kind of looking forward to that tonight. I'm not able to watch the race live, but through you guys, I'll be able to live through it vicariously.
Kevin McCarthy, not rain, not sleet, not snow, or even a foreign country can stop him from being a part of the action here at CORA. Kevin, we'll definitely come back to you throughout the race to talk about the event and all the exciting stuff that goes on here at CORA.
10-4, appreciate that, gentlemen.
Well, thank you for certainly joining us tonight here at Talladega Superspeedway for the Border War special event. It's the USA versus Canada. Let's take you down the qualifying order, the order in which they will start. It's your starting grid for the Border Wars here at CORA at Talladega Superspeedway. It's going to be Nick Doucette in the number 51 machine, not Paul Doucette, going in a qualifying time of 50.742 seconds. On the outside of him, Craig White in the 38 will start in second.
In row number 2, we've got Alan Larson alongside of him, the number 50 of TJ Graves.
Garrett Atwell in the number 4 machine will start in the inside of row number 3. Outside of him, Everett Lane in the 6th. The number 1 truck will start 6th.
Starting 7th will be Michael Johnson in that 78. Starting 8th, Sean Bradley.
Neil Thompson will start in the inside of row number 5 in the 66 machine. Travis Brown on the outside of him in the 33.
In row number 6, we've got Mark McFadden in the number 48, and alongside of him, the 74 of Ben Horrell.
Joel Wood starts on the inside of row number 7 in the 79 machine. Justin Lane in the 88 starts 14th.
Starting 15th will be the 58 of Cecil Jackson, and alongside of him will be James Brown.
Carl Jones, Terry Hurley, John Pensula will not elect to take time on this field, and that will conclude your field of 19 trucks starting here at Talladega Superspeedway tonight. Fun, in fact, about your pole sitter, Nick Doucette in the 51 machine. He's only 11 years old. 11 years old and had that much talent to command this field tonight of some of the top international drivers to be found on either side of the border. That takes a lot out there to be able to have that ability at such a young age.
Yeah, we saw a couple of weeks ago the CORA All-Star race where they were running Cadillacs at Daytona, which was an interesting combination. But Nick Doucette was one of the guys to beat. I believe he ended up finishing second or third, but he was up front all night long, very smooth on the wheel, so he's one to look out for.
One to look out for, not to mention because of the fact that he is starting on the very top of this field, and I've got a feeling he's going to be one who's going to be you're going to watch tonight, because he's not going to give away that lead anytime soon. Pace car goes down pit road to the safety of that pit road, and we are only moments away from starting the Border Wars. 101 laps. Green flag flies, and it's Nick Doucette getting a jump on the field. 19 trucks cross the start-finish line, and the Border War is on. Top 4 trucks jump single file, making the top 6 trucks. Only battle now is around that 7th place position, is around the number 78 of Michael Johnson.
Yeah, Michael Johnson looking to gain a spot right there. The 33 of Travis Brown ducking right in behind him. And what I think will be interesting this race is to see how aggressively people push each other, because the more you do this tandem draft and the more you push somebody through the field, the quicker it starts to overheat. So it's one of those things where a lot of these guys probably will be keeping their noses pretty clean early on so that they can push aggressively later on. But looking up front, we had an all-Canada front row, and they are working together really well right now. That's Craig White and Nick Doucette. Nick Doucette still in the lead, and they are pushing each other pretty aggressively there as Nick Doucette will lead the first lap.
Nick Doucette leads the first of 101. Immediately on his tail, Craig White in the 38 machine. The Canadians looking like they have no interest in giving up that position anytime soon. And then behind them, TJ Graves, Alan Larson working in tandem. Everett Lane, Garrett Atwell. And immediately what you're seeing here on the field is we're breaking off into 2x2s. Very much nationwide style racing for these trucks. The next twosome out there. Now 3 wide, the 78 of Travis Brown, the 33 of Travis Brown in front of the 78 of Michael Johnson. 33 almost made it 3 wide there for a moment, decided the better of it. He's going to work with his dancing partner, the 78 of Michael Johnson, and that leaves the 13 of Sean Bradley with nowhere to go and no one to jump onto behind him. Ben Horrell in the 74 machine and the 66 of Neil Thompson catching that 13 machine. He needs to find a dance partner in a hurry.
Yeah, we see the 66 and the 74 working on the outside of that 13 truck, all painted in that red and white Canada colors with the maple leaf and all, but actually is the 74 of Neil Thompson. The 66 just loses his draft up a little bit there, but you know what it is a lot of times when you have a really big pack in these races, it's easier to not tandem draft all the way to the front. You could breathe a little bit, you're off the gas more because of the low line being held up, things of that nature. But here, we have only 15 who took the green flag. And so what that does is it really puts these drivers into a box where they're going to push a lot more than they thought they would. One thing in these drivers' favors, though, is 65 degrees and overcast, which is a little bit cooler than the norm. Most races here are about 13 degrees hotter, and so that will help keep their engines a little bit cooler when they can push a little bit longer. But certainly, with a 100-lap race here, you definitely expect some of these guys to play it pretty conservative.
Tandem draft worked with the 50 for only a moment, though. Now Everett Lane getting the push from the 4 of Garrett Atwell. They will take away the lead in convincing fashion. And now here comes the 50 and the 24. That's Graves and Larson. These guys are hungry. They want that lead back, and they want it back in a hurry. Meanwhile, Nick Doucette in the 51. He was your leader. He's going to drop behind the 38 of Craig White, and that will cycle through the leaders. So 3 leaders in 3 laps. It was Doucette. Then it was CJ Graves in the 50. Now it's Everett Lane in the 1. And the question is, who's going to be the next one to try to take away a lap, and who's going to help him get up front?
Yeah, and that's the worry where we saw Nick Doucette now pushing the guy who was working with, who was 38 of Craig White. And we just started lap 5. They did that switch on the 4th lap as they moved to the outside. Craig White leading that outside with Nick Doucette, trying to get a good enough run to get back to the lead. But it's a little bit worrisome because if you're only able to go 4 laps in that first little stint before you have to switch, odds are we get deeper into this race 50 laps from now. If they keep tandem switching, it'd be more like 2 or 3. So it's just something where these guys will probably have to think about being conservative here. But right now, that's Craig White going to lead, I believe, his first lap of the race, takes the lead, and that was a big run for those guys on the outside, 2 against 4.
Sean Bradley now in the 13 finds a dance partner in the 66 of Neil Thompson. On the outside of him, Michael Johnson in the 78 is hooked up with Travis Brown in the 33. These two tandems running side by side with each other. They're able to make it work very well out there. Looking back up front, it's a 24 machine that now no longer has a partner. He got to figure out where he's going to go. That's Alan Larson. He makes a tandem switch with a 50, but that costs him a lot of time out there on the field. They still run top 6, 2 by 2 by 2.
Yeah, that's where you're going to see a lot of these lead changes happen is when these drivers get, actually, as we're looking at, they were 3 wide for a moment there. They're 3 wide with the 33 of Travis Brown and the 13 of Sean Bradley. Below them is the 66 of Neil Thompson, and they sort of get that sorted out, but that's one of those situations where when you look to make a switch, it'll put drivers in a position to put in a hole that you're not in, and so they're just looking to go where you're not, and that's how you see a lot of the lead changes here at this track is when these guys switch, the other cars right behind them are able to keep it together. For that point, they take the lead before they have to switch, then they lose the lead when they have to switch. So it's this never-ending circle.
One truck having a lot of problems out there is the 58 of Cecil Jackson. He had lost that draft that he was hatched up to. He's going to drop all the way back to 15th once he crosses the start-finish line. And if he can't figure out a way to get back with that draft, if they can't do something to help him out, to keep him within this group, within striking distance of this field, he might find himself at the mercy of that yellow flag we're going to have at lap 51 to reset the field. Meanwhile, in front of him, almost very wide with the 6 of Terry Hurley, the 48 of Mark McFadden, and the 79 of Joel Wood. They almost go 3 wide through this field, decide not to. The 6 goes way up high, almost 3 wide. They're running in that formation. Not going to do it, though, this time by. The 79, 48, and 6 don't have the horsepower to do it. The 79 Joel Wood, though, trying to make a big run up front. He's going to try to pick up at least one position on that 48.
Yeah, and Cecil Jackson is going to pull right back up to the 79 of Joel Wood, and they're going to work back together again. Cecil just going to the apron last lap. It was a pretty peculiar looking deal that happened there, but able to latch back onto the draft. These drivers do have to be a little bit worried because with the guys up front tandem drafting incredibly well, they're going to find themselves going a lap down in probably 10 or 12 laps if they keep doing what they're doing. So this is a race where if you're not tandem drafting as well as the guys up front, you can really find yourself losing some laps pretty quickly.
And they are losing position very, very quickly for these trucks. They can get around this track between 48 and 51 seconds. 48 if they've got that tailwind, 51 seconds if they're out by themselves. And right now, that group of 4, the 49, the 48, the 6, the 58, these guys are losing time in a hurry. Currently scored 18 seconds behind. So that's about a third of a lap they're being scored behind right now, and they need some help if they want to get back up front. Meanwhile, new leader on the board. It's a 4 of Garrett Atwell. Makes the tandem switch with Everett Lane in the number 1 machine. On behind him, 2 by 2 they run. All hungry, all wanting to lead a lap here for Pride of Country. Craig White down low. Nick Doucette giving him the push down there. The 50 of TJ Graves now trying to hook onto that tandem. The 24 of Alan Larson. No one to pair up with, so he will continue to push his buddy in the 50. 2 by 2 by 2 they go. 51 and 33, or check that, 51 and 38 now about to make a switch.
Yeah, we've seen Craig White and Nick Doucette working together pretty well all race long, as actually the second place truck of Everett Lane was all over the place, approaching the tri-oval there, coming out of turn number 4. The truck running in second there, the pusher, really has a tough time seeing what's going on in front of the truck in front of him. So a lot of times you're guessing on where that line is or where the turn-in entry is. And as they go for the switch there, Nick Doucette's going to retake the lead. And the 1 truck of Everett Lane just didn't back up to the 4 quick enough there. And they're going to lose a little bit more momentum than they could have had they made a cleaner switch. But the bottom line just does not have as big of a run as they could have had. So they're pretty lucky here, able to keep right with them, even though they're unlatched still.
So 2 by 2 by 2 they continue to run. Not only pit strategy has to be managed at this race, but also engine strategy. That's why you see them doing the tandem switch over and over again. And they are going to continue to do this all the way to the end of the race. I already know that these guys are making deals with each other, deals across teams, deals across drivers. If you help me get up front, I'll help you out later in the race. How those will be honored, we have yet to see, but I've got a feeling that kinsmen will help each other out when push comes to shove, very literally. Neil Thompson now and Sean Bradley in the 13 machine. They are going to push around the number 33 of Travis Brown and the 78 of Michael Johnson. They're staying in group and staying well within each other. And your top 10, really the last group that has a chance to keep up with your leaders. The last 5, McFadden, Wood, Horrell, Hurley, Jackson, 25 seconds out. They will need the restart at lap 51 to get back in it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have that 6-truck group all the way up front. Then we have those 4 trucks, like you said, Neil Thompson, Travis Brown, Sean Bradley, Michael Johnson. And then looking back 20 seconds and further back, we have 5 trucks that are somewhat spread out. I believe 4 of the 5 are working with each other. And then Ben Horrell in the middle just has nobody to work with right now. So we're definitely seeing a lot of trucks spreading out here. Certainly, this is a skill that some people are really good at. And it's something that's sort of hard to get used to. And so we certainly see the field spread out accordingly.
A lot of quality drivers out here. Let's go back to Kevin McCarthy real quick, your COO here at CORA Racing. And Kevin, this is definitely a class field, not only of great American and great Canadian drivers, but really a field that represents and exemplifies CORA and the abilities of the drivers here.
Yes, it does. It's been a lot of work trying to get the drivers together and get them coordinated for this event, and it's something that wasn't easy, and right up to the last minute it's been a real challenge for us to get these guys together, but from listening to the broadcast, it sounds like it's turning out to be a pretty exciting race.
Tell us about the break at lap 51. What are we going to expect when the yellow flag flies and this field is reset for the second half of the race?
We at lap 51, we're looking at throwing a competition caution. The competition caution will be called under green flag condition. The drivers will assume the position of the driver that they were behind. They will roll down pit road at that time. They'll go into the pits. They'll change their tires up. Race control will confirm to the drivers that they've all done their tire changes, fuel, whatever they need to do. They will roll out off the pit road. They will assume the position. Then the caution will be thrown. The drivers will be in their positions, and then the caution will go through on the pace laps, and then the drivers will be back in their sorted positions, and the field will go green after that.
So once we hit that point, it really is going to be a halftime for these drivers, for them to get their pit stops done, get anything they need, get their tires, get their fuel, and then have a little bit of a breather before they finish out this race.
Yeah, it gives them a chance to get themselves sorted, maybe get a little bit of breath there, try and figure out what they're going to be needing to do, maybe contacting with some of the other drivers that they're working with, who's working with who, and how things will be set up when they go back to green. I think that giving a little bit of a competition caution will give these guys a little bit of a break, and it'll set the field back up for another exciting last 51 laps.
Real quick, Kevin, will that be their only scheduled pit stop of the night? Will that halftime period be their only chance to get tires and fuel, or will they have other opportunities to come down pit road tonight?
Well, depending on how the drivers compete against each other, kind of being the head officiator of the field or of CORA itself, I've kind of informed the drivers that I'm telling them to be a little bit more aggressive tonight, give them the opportunity to be a little bit more challenging than they normally are in some of the races, being this is an event that we don't normally hold. So to give the fans out there watching us right now a little bit more excitement to watch, I've given a little bit more free rein to be a little bit more aggressive. And I believe when the drivers, if there is a wreck or something like that, I believe that will be the only time that they will be able to get back in down pit road, or if needed for fuel or whatever they need to do. I think the next time that they'll be coming down pit road will be either under a caution or during green flag, depending on their fuel, what they're using up during the race.
But at that halftime period, everyone will be forced to take fuel and tires, correct?
Yeah, 10-4. That's their call.
Kevin McCarthy, your COO here at CORA. We will come back to you later on in the race. Kevin McCarthy giving us a lot of great information here on CORA and the race we see tonight.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
So as it stands right now, it's the one of Everett Lane, Garrett Atwell currently in the 4, currently in second, Craig White, Paul Doucette, check that Ryan, check that Nick Doucette. So many Doucettes I can't even keep it straight. Running in third, the 38 and the 51, currently running in down to behind them. It's the 24 and 50. That's Alan Larson and TJ Graves coming back to click off lap 19 of 101 here at Talladega Superspeedway. It's quiet racing so far, but it's going to hurry up, and it's going to change in a hurry. How will the complexion of the race change? Only one way to find out. You are watching ETV Live's live coverage of the CORA Border Wars. It's a USA versus Canada here at Talladega Superspeedway.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 and the checkered flag. He wins his first.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Welcome back to ETV Live's coverage of the CORA Border Wars here at Talladega Superspeedway. As soon as we cut the break, this happens on the field. 78 gets into the 66 of Neil Thompson. Neil Thompson then flips the 13 machine around. That's Sean Bradley and two Canadians already with heavy damage on the field. And to be honest with you, Harry, I think what happened here is the 78 tried to do a tandem switch with a 33, didn't know what was around him, ends up getting the 66, and that's all that she wrote for those two trucks.
Yeah, certainly the 66 of Neil Thompson and the 13 Sean Bradley, the innocent victims here, and they switched about 2 laps prior to that, and so it might have been a last-minute decision where he started overheating a little quicker than he thought he would, or it simply could have been one of those deals where you can't see at all in front of the car in front of you as you're pushing him, and so it's easy to sort of miss that turn in. And he was hard on the wheel, but it was too late, and just slid up and took a couple trucks out. So a tough deal there. We had a nice green flag run going. Certainly, we're going to restart this race with the neighborhood of about 79 laps to go. So 78 laps to go.
The Canadians currently sitting on top of the field with Craig White and Nick Doucette. Evan Lane, Alan Larson immediately on their back end. So the Canadians have had a lot of control over this group so far, but the Americans not too far behind. And again, no payout tonight. It's all about national pride and determining who really are the best drivers in this group.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of we've had a 6-truck pack really leading the race for the bulk of the race, and 4 of those 6 have been trucks with the American flag painted on it. However, Nick Doucette, Craig White have been up front all night long, been leading a bunch of laps, and they certainly have shown that they're going to be there unless something were to happen. So a lot of competitive racing going on up front, and I think Nick Doucette and Craig White seem to be working together almost better than anyone else.
Michael Johnson given an end of longest line penalty. He will restart in the 15th position behind Cecil Jackson in the 58 machine. 15 trucks still on the field here tonight. Neil Thompson and the 13 of Sean Bradley both getting their trucks reset. Each driver allowed 2 resets in tonight's goings, which keeps everything competitive. And with a field of 15, you really do need that. You really need that ability to be able to have that incident, let it go, and move forward. And with 2 resets, these guys will be given plenty of opportunities to make sure that they can get around and stay clean and stay competitive throughout this race.
Yeah, certainly. If you run out of resets, it has been a really, really rough outing. So a lot of these drivers hoping to not use any resets at all. Certainly, any track position is good track position, but working together with these tandem drafts, that's a cool thing about tandem drafting versus a big pack is it gives you a place to go. Obviously, we're not seeing the 3-wide racing of a bunch of like 3 lines all in a row with a bunch of cars single file. However, we have seen some 3-wide racing in general, at least on 3 or 4 occasions, just with the tandem drafting. So it's just it's sort of a different breed of super speedway racing. But I think when it comes down to it, most breeds of super speedway racing really are one and the same. So it's a show out there.
Generally a show and a lot of fun when we go back to green flag racing in just a few moments. It's going to be Craig White and Nick Doucette all in the front row. Everett Lane, Alan Larson behind him. Travis Brown, Garrett Atwell, 5th and 6th. Neil Thompson, Ben Horrell in 7th and 8th. Ben Horrell's had a very quiet race so far here tonight, but after starting outside the top 10, he will break into the 8th place position, and he should have some help from Mark McFadden or Joel Wood, who both will break starting behind him. Gary Hurley, Sean Bradley, Cecil Jackson, Michael Johnson, and TJ Graves rounding out your field of 15 tonight. TJ Graves may be having problems with his truck. He is way at the very back, and he is struggling to catch up with the rest of this field.
Yeah, TJ Graves slowly making his way back to the field, who are doubled up in the middle of 3 and 4. TJ will get there in time for the restart. But something about these starts is a lot of the guys who are working together actually find themselves side by side in a row, so they're going to try to get to the teammate as quickly as they can. However, when you're one of those drivers who's directly behind a truck that wants to work with someone else, a lot of times you could use that to your benefit and mess with them a little bit, maybe push them forward and separate 2 drivers who are working really well together, and that's one of the games that you could play here in this style of racing.
A lot of games that can be played here as the pace car makes the hard left turn down pit road. Now it's up to Craig White and Nick Doucette to see what they want to do and how they're going to do it. Green flag getting ready to fly. It's now to the restart of those 2 Canadians. Green flag in the air. Nick Doucette stays second. It's going to be Craig White now up front in first. And who gets a big push? It's Everett Lane. He's trying to hook on to their group out there, but he may not be able to do it without a dance partner. Travis Brown, his prescribed dance partner, quite a bit of ways away. Alan Larson, Garrett Atwell now hooked up together, and these two are going to start making the tandem jump to the front.
Yeah, Alan Larson and Garrett Atwell actually becoming disconnected, but Larson jumps down to the low line. Looks like Alan Larson is going to work with Everett Lane. Those two drivers certainly know each other pretty well. Regulars here in the CORA Series, as Nick Doucette, Craig White up front. Larson latches onto the back of Lane, and it will be Travis Brown in the 33 hooking up with the 4 of Garrett Atwell. And so we'll have to see some of the guys who fell about 5 seconds behind that lead draft in the first run of the race. They're looking to not have that happen this run. They want to stay right with them. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to do that. I'm looking at Joel Wood in the 79 working with Ben Horrell in the 74. That's actually the Canada colors in the 74, the American colors, and the number 79. But I tell you what, working together, I guess you could call that bipartisan, right?
Bipartisan, bi-country. At this juncture of the race, I don't think it matters as they almost go 3 wide there. It's going to be the 74 getting the push up into the wall from the 4 machine, or check that, from the number 1 machine of Everett Lane. He shoves the number 74 of Ben Horrell all the way up into the wall. He makes contact, and now he's got to get back to his dance partner and try to get up front to help him out there. Ben Horrell getting the shove early in the race, getting the block early, and that's going to cost him at least 3 positions, now back to 8th.
Yeah, that's a tough break for Ben Horrell. We were just talking about him, but what happened there was Everett Lane just got kind of bumper hooked off of the Alan Larson who he's working with, and a lot of times you grab onto these bumpers the wrong way, and it'll just send you in a direction that you were not intending to go in. So it's just one of those deals where the bumpers don't quite pair up exactly. If you're off a little bit, it can be interesting. As we have actually a lead change brewing up here. Alan Larson working on the outside of Nick Doucette, as well as Craig White, with that push from Everett Lane, who we just saw moments ago, making contact with the 74. However, pushing well right now. Alan Larson will lead that lap, and it looks like they're going to go for the switch, I believe, or just became disconnected. But that's going to get Nick Doucette back to the lead, as they will capitalize for that momentum that they just lost.
So Nick Doucette now back up front, and we're starting to really see the border part of Border Wars coming into play here, as you've got everyone not only pairing up by the country and the flag they've got on these trucks, but more importantly by the partnerships they've made and defending the colors that they have out there. The Canadians hard to defend up front right now. The Americans immediately on their tail. It's a good old-fashioned battle. Brings you back to the War of 1812 out there, as the Canadians trying to evade and the Americans holding them back at every opportunity they get.
No historical reference left unturned. I like it. And Everett Lane, we see him swerving around on the track. Sometimes it's just easy to lose that little rhythm you need. This isn't really a rhythm racetrack, but when you're that truck that's the pusher, you're anticipating where the car in front of you or the truck in front of you is leading you. Right now, Everett's having a couple of little issues, staying latched right on that 24 as he sweeps really wide out of turn 4. But coming through this tri-oval, you might not realize it, but you can actually get really loose through this tri-oval. The back end gets light, especially on the bottom lane. There's a little groove where if your right rear gets hooked on it, it could literally send you into the infield. So it's one of those difficult little nuances about the track to look out for. We've seen a little bit of looseness come through there, but thankfully no big difficulties at this point. As Alan Larson leading Everett Lane, but Nick Doucette and Craig White look to fight back, as I believe Alan Larson will be switching. Actually, a little defensive maneuver on the 51, thinks better of it. But the 1 truck, I think he's running a little bit warm. They're probably going to switch with Alan Larson here in a minute.
The 1 getting some cold air in that number 1 machine, switches with the 24, and they go back to dancing tandem. 6 guys, 6 trucks up front. And let's go ahead and show you the blimp cam real quick so you can see just how much of a gap there is right now between your top 6 and the rest of the field. Top 6 you're seeing at the top of your screen right there. They're starting to get away from the rest of the field. The next 6 of 15 they are struggling to hold back out there, not running in a single line, still running 2 by 2 by 2 out there. And I think the biggest losers are Ben Horrell, the 74 machine, and who was his dance partner, the number 79, or Wood guy who wanted to be his dance partner, the 79 of Joel Wood. Both those guys unable to hook up. They are running alone out there by themselves, and that is no way to run this track. That's an easy way to get stuck way by yourself out here on this field.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a lot of separation there. A few trucks working together about 2 seconds behind the leader, but we've seen that shred in the first 20-lap run of the race. It just seems like the top six just working about as well as he can on this track. And we've got a few cars way back there, and I believe Cecil Jackson is 20 seconds behind the leader right now, just not able to keep up at all. I believe he's got some damage there on his 58 truck. However, looking up front, we're actually going 3 wide. The 33 is looking high. Ow, we got turned. The 33's around, and they were going to go 3 wide. Misjudged a little bit of a shove right there. The 33 goes around. I think everyone else avoids him.
Everybody else avoids him cleanly, but that will bring out your second caution flag of the evening. The 33 of Travis Brown. Let's go ahead and show you the replay real quick. As the 33 and 4, not exactly sure where they wanted to go or how they wanted to manage that 3 wide situation. 33 thought it was going to be a stock change for them. The 4 did not think that, and his dancing partner ultimately cost him a lot of position out there. So the 33 of Travis Brown gets around, and he will need to use one of his 2 resets tonight to get back on track. Trouble already. Second flag of the evening on lap 31.
Yeah, this is one of those incidents where a lot of times 2 trucks, obviously using the net code here, where we're basically pushing each other with 2 different internet connections. Some trucks pair up really well and some don't. And what happened to Travis Brown is, as the 4 of Garrett Atwell came up there to shove him, Garrett was a little bit to the right. However, he wasn't right enough that it usually would hook somebody. That's usually a pretty safe push that he was going for. However, it just wasn't safe for the 33 truck. He got sent left pretty quickly, and as he corrected it to avoid turning the trucks below him, it turned him back into the 4 truck. And so the 4 truck, with a little bit of damage from that, but not much, came away relatively unscathed, but might have lost his partner there. The 33 of Travis Brown going to have to use a reset, trying to hook up with Garrett Atwell again if they choose to keep working with each other, which they have pretty much all race.
So these guys now have to figure it out one more time as they get ready. It's going to be the halftime now, starting to breathe down on them. Less than 20 laps away till we hit halftime, and each of these drivers now need to rethink their strategy as they get ready to go around.
Yeah. And actually, to correct myself real quick, Travis Brown was mostly working with Michael Johnson earlier in the race, so that was actually the first time he was working with Garrett Atwell was that run. Now, it was working out okay, but that's one of those things. You pair up with someone different in the middle of the race, that's something that can happen.
As these guys get it sorted out under yellow flag conditions, let's go ahead and take another commercial break for the evening. It is the Border Wars, and it's only heating up from here. The Americans, the Canadians, which one will be victorious? Only time will tell. You're watching it live here on ETV Live.
Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com. If you're a serious online racing enthusiast, you need Derek Spear Design, maker of high-quality, custom-built, and 50 caliber strong simulation racing products like button boxes, shifter pedals, component parts, and more. The advantage a championship sim racing driver needs. Rated 10 out of 10 by Inside Sim Racing TV. Check out his line of top-shelf sim racing products reasonably priced at DerekSpearDesigns.com and buckle in for a no-nonsense ride. DerekSpearDesigns.com today, cowboy.
Welcome back, race fans, to ETV Live's coverage of the CORA Border Wars here at Talladega Superspeedway. You'll have to forgive me just a moment there. We were all talking about our favorite Canadian American movies out there in the spirit of the Border Wars, and we mentioned a couple different classics, Strange Brew, Canadian Bacon. One I don't think we mentioned, Harry, was Spies Like Us, which was really a classic.
Actually, that is on the long list of things that I have on my Netflix queue, as I haven't seen it.
I'm going to assume you also haven't seen Strange Brew or Canadian Bacon either.
That is correct. I am a very sheltered human being.
Apparently so. Yellow flag continues to fly on this field at Talladega Superspeedway. The Americans now in the lead for a change. Check that. Alan Larson on the outside is the only American on the front row. Craig White and Nick Doucette still representing Canada first and third right now. Everett Lane off there as well. Garrett Atwell will have a longest line penalty. He'll start at the tail end of this field in 15th plus or minus. TJ Graves, Michael Johnson, Sean Brady, Neil Thompson all still running on this field out here. So plenty of racing left to go, but we're about 16 laps, 15, or I said 17, 16 laps when you cross the line to before we go to that halftime period where we're going to see these guys slow it down and reset once again for halftime.
Yeah, that's very reminiscent of the way the Truck Series used to be a number of years back. The actual, as it was known at the time as the Craftsman Truck Series, literally had halftimes in their races. It would be a 10 or 15 minute break, very similar to what you see often in the Sprint All-Star races that we have every year. And so these drivers basically going to get a few minutes to regroup. They'll be down pit road. We'll be having to take tires, having to fill up, whatever else. And so they will come back out onto the track and regrouped and ready to roll. So very much, hey, it's a football Sunday. Might as well have a halftime before the second half.
You know, football might mean different things in other parts of the world. Have you ever thought about that?
That is true, and it makes me wonder if you're from Canada, if you relate the word football to American football or football. I'm not actually 100% on that.
I believe the Canadians follow American football, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I'm only partially Canadian.
Yeah, I think there is a Canadian Football League that's very popular up there, which basically stems from American football, and also probably an arena football league. Similar to the AFL here in the States. However, looking at these guys doubled up for the restart, on this restart, Nick Doucette and Craig White are actually lined up nose to tail on first and third, so they're not going to need to do any swapping around. And odds are they're communicating. Odds are Craig White is going to communicate when he's going to go on this restart to Doucette, so that he'll be able to match up real quick, try to get that shove out in front of Alan Larson and Everett Lane. Certainly Larson and Lane did a good job of really contending for that lead there before that caution fell. And then some of these guys, such as the 78 of Michael Johnson, looking for a newer partner than he was working with early in the race. Looks like he might be paired up with the 50 of TJ Graves. But as we come to the line, we're going to have about 15 laps until that halfway point caution.
Kevin McCarthy giving me a note here in the booth. Yes, there is a Canadian Football League. How do I know that? Because I do love following the Montreal Alouettes. But that is a completely different story as the pace car makes a turn down pit road. And we are back to green flag racing in just a moment. All eyes on Craig White as he makes the jump. Nick Doucette goes with him. The Canadians back in control of this race. Alan Larson, Everett Lane, nowhere to go. They're going to fall back and tandem up together, but it doesn't surprise me that they're right there with your top two, 2x2. They go into turns 1 and 2. Meanwhile, it's a 50-78 dancing together. The 66 and 13 back together once again, and then it's the strange bedfellows, Horrell and Wood, 74 and 79. Canada and America finding a way to work together once again.
Absolutely. Ben Horrell, we saw him make that move to the front after the restart around lap 20. Now he's trying to get back up there with help from the 79 of Joel Wood. So trying to make that outside work here on the outside, running in about position number 7 as they work around at 66 of Neil Thompson. But you see there's such a gap already to the leaders in this race. A lot of times that restart really gaps people. At the 79 gets wide. Had a moment there, but the 79 loses the 74, but it's really easy to lose time here as they try to knock them too far back.
And this is why we have the mute button, Harry. Learn it, use it, love it.
Oh, it's been a rough week under the weather, and it just keeps continuing, Joe.
Back up front, it's Craig White, Nick Doucette up front, the 24 and 1 of Larson and Lane working together, 2x2 your top 6. Then there's Neil Thompson and Sean Bradley. These guys continue to back and forth together in 7th and 8th. Horrell and Wood, 9th and 10th, and behind them they're kind of scattered like pool balls. Jackson 15th, Garrett Atwell, after causing that incident in 14th and with no one to dance with, nowhere to go. McFadden and Travis Brown, the only two guys who partnered up and try to figure out how it works. Terry Hurley in the 6 machine. He needs a dance partner in a hurry, and I don't think there's room for 3 on the Brown and McFadden Express.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys working about 4 seconds behind the leader, just not able to keep up right now as the 6 of Terry Hurley just keeps fading. That is a very helpless feeling because you will, even if you're able to sort of latch onto the draft a little bit, that two truck tandem will just simply pull away from you. So Hurley going backwards real fast. Certainly when there's an odd number of drivers, it's very, if you're that unlucky driver left out, it can lead to a long night as the 1 and the 74, the 24 of Alan Larson, Everett Lane and Alan Larson just performing a switch there, get back in line as the 50 and the 78 work underneath there. Now TJ Graves hasn't really been in that lead battle for much of the race, but he finds himself there right now working with Michael Johnson. And so those two, we haven't seen them in the top 6 since early on in this race. Back up there though, as we're pushing up, getting closer to halfway.
Garrett Atwell and Cecil Jackson trying to work together. Atwell and Jackson on the communicators with the spotters, trying to figure out how to work together and how to get moving up front. Can't figure it out though they are trying. They're going to be a tandem of their own. Meanwhile, Terry Hurley all alone out there by himself. No tandem behind him, no tandem in front of him, so he is stuck out there on an island. He is begging for the help of Atwell and Jackson to come find him, but 2 seconds away. They're not going to find him anytime soon. Another tandem that's starting to work together is a 33 and the 79. Joel Wood dumps the 74 of Ben Horrell. Travis Brown comes to his rescue, and now we're starting to see team dynamics at work. No longer are they team cooperation, team friendship. They are now team cutthroat, and everybody working for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, Terry Hurley, he's just fading fast. Already lost 3 seconds on the field that he was getting passed by just a lap or two ago. So as Harry Nielsen wrote, 1 is the loneliest number, made famous by Free Dog Night. But I digress. Way back in the back half of the Garrett Atwell and Cecil Jackson. Cecil just been hanging in the back, possibly by design. Certainly, we know that we have that caution coming up. They literally know that they cannot be lapped this run at this point. And so they might be hoping, these guys tangle, we could be back here, avoid some problems. Cecil Jackson, driver who actually stayed out, led a lap, previous caution, but right here running single file with Garrett Atwell, not even tandem drafting, just taking care of his temperatures. But it remains a 6-truck battle up front. They're side by side right now as Everett Lane and Alan Larson still working together, and they actually pull a switch here And Nick Doucette in the 51 is going to look to go to the middle, but the hole closes up, so Nick Doucette decides to push Everett Lane. This is very interesting here, but it looks like Nick Doucette's actually going to back out of that and switch back to Craig White. For a moment there, I thought we were going to have some mixed tandems for a moment.
3 wide now going into turns 3 and 4. The 78 high, 24 in the middle, and the 38 up from down low. He will go down low. He will back in front of everybody in this group, getting pushed by Nick Doucette out there, and that ended that 3 wide very quickly. As soon as it started, Larson and Lane, they tried to do the block. The American block out there didn't work the way they wanted it to because they couldn't get the guys to stick with them in that tandem. So the Canadians proving to outsmart their Southern friends once again out here on this field, but you got to give them credit for trying that block maneuver so early in the race.
Yeah, with that 3 wide down the backstretch, we saw 2 people switch, and then that really just opens the floodgates. It allows anyone that's working together to really get a big run on you. That's exactly what happened there, leading up to that whole situation. But now we've got, I tell you, as we look at the top 8, we've got 4 American trucks, 2 tandems, and 4 Canadian liveries up here. So they are, we've actually seen that tandem of Sean Bradley and Neil Thompson hasn't been up here in quite a while in the lead draft, but they're making their self known here right now as the 50 of TJ Graves just having trouble keeping up with Michael Johnson, and if they don't get hooked up pretty soon, Michael Johnson is just going to run out of steam and fall further back behind that lead pack that he's so desperately trying to hang on to right now as they stay side by side for the lead. That is Craig White leading Nick Doucette as Alan Larson and Everett Lane once again move on by, but Alan Larson might have just given Craig White one heck of a scare as he sort of darted to the left unintentionally, just trying to feel his way around this track. But Everett Lane just looks like he's not entirely comfortable here racing at Talladega.
Not entirely comfortable, but he's trying to make the best of it. Remember, they have halftime coming up here in 6 laps, so once that halftime period comes out, they'll have a chance to slow down a little bit, try to reconfigure and remake their plans for the second half of this race. We still have with us Kevin McCarthy, the COO of CORA, in with us. We got trouble on the track. Let's hold that trouble on the track.
Yeah, I actually don't know where the trouble is. The caution was thrown. May even be our halftime a little bit early, trying to get that out of the way and sort it out. I actually don't see the problem as we speak.
The only truck that had trouble out there I saw was the 6 machine of Terry Hurley, as he was all by himself out there, not able to get out there and manage it. Also the 58, I'm told, being involved in a wreck. That's Cecil Jackson. We're looking at the same exact thing, I think. The 6 and the 58 getting caught up in a wreck going into turns 1 on lap 43, and that is going to be a very interesting build-up into our halftime.
Yeah, the 58 of Cecil Jackson missed that at first. The game did not throw the caution, so the official did, leading to a little confusion there. But the 58 came down into the 6. That 6 truck being Terry Hurley. Both hit the outside wall really hard. Cecil Jackson with losing an engine in that deal, or at least losing a lot of oil, and stopped his car on the track and is now towing back to the pits. Terry Hurley able to drive around, but lost a lap in doing so, which leads 13 to the lead lap. No lucky dog in that situation, and that really puts us really close to that halfway lap of lap 51 coming up, as you pointed out.
Cecil Jackson has pulled it into the garage for the evening. He is done. Terry Hurley gets a reset, and he's back on track. So Terry Hurley now is going to make this a field of 14, which means everybody can find a dance partner, and everybody has somewhere to go. So Kevin McCarthy, our COO of CORA Racing, still joining us in the booth here tonight. And of the first 46 laps we've had out here, it's been a very, very impressive run for all of these CORA drivers on either side of the border.
Yeah, by listening to you guys, in the booth here, unable to watch the race live, but it sounded pretty exciting so far. Just a little heads up on Nicholas Doucette. He is 11 years old and is a very impressive young man when it comes to these super speedways. undoubtedly he will be one of the trucks to beat tonight. I'm looking forward to finding out what the end of the race is. Coming up during halftime, I have some family dropping by here, so I will be checking out at that time. But I looked at some very odd pairings with the Americans and the Canadians at times hooking up. I think the analogy was the War of 1812. There will be some friendships, which there wasn't at that time. I think trying to help people run up, but as soon as they do get to the front, I'm sure that those friendships will disappear immediately when it comes time.
The administrator is just announcing right now that this is going to be the halftime caution on the field. It does come a little bit early, Kevin, and it's going to come on lap 47 instead of lap 51. That's going to force everyone in 3 laps early. Do you feel that that's going to affect the outcome or the pace of the race out here?
Yeah, depending on how the fuels go and what the strategies are, it might affect some of the start of the race. But I think the total outcome of the race is going to depend on whether the pairings, like I say, between the Americans and the Canadians will be following, and then the tandems come. You've seen a lot of the Americans, from what I've heard, sticking together. In the odd time you get a Canadian and an American, they will push together, but that's only to benefit one or the other. I'm sure not benefiting one team to the other.
Trucks are now coming down pit road for the halftime stop. Remember, they are forced to take 4 tires and a full tank of fuel on this stop and come out the way they came in. So let me ask you this right now, Kevin, as these guys take their competition caution, the halftime caution, who do you think is the favorite to win as a result of this competition caution? Who's going to benefit the most from this?
Well, I guess depending on who has who hasn't used up the resets yet, whether the vehicles have had damage, either minor or major damage, those resets will probably play into the rest of the race. So as the teams tend to drop out, or drivers tend to drop out from their teams when they become odd again, that may change the pairing when it comes to the end of the race. But for myself, being a Canadian, I have to be a little bit biased. I'm looking forward to seeing Nicholas Doucette probably take this to the checkered flag and giving the Canadian team the win. Unfortunately, I am Canadian, so I'm a little bit biased on that decision.
Kevin McCarthy, your administrator here and COO of Championship Online Racing Association. Kevin, who are you putting your support behind tonight from Team Canada?
Again, I'm looking at Nicholas Doucette. Any of the Canadian team, I'm wishing them all good luck today. I've got some family that'll be showing up here shortly. They're having a big family day here. It is Monday. I could tell you who's going to win the race because it's already Monday here, but I think I'll neglect to say who's going to win the race. But I'll put my money on Nicholas Doucette and the Canadian team. I know there's going to be some good challenging there from Alan Larson and possibly Michael Johnson. I believe he's got a pretty good truck there tonight. So up front, Garrett Atwell and Nicholas Doucette, Michael Johnson. But I'm going to give Nicholas Doucette my vote, and I think I'm going to stick with that.
Kevin McCarthy, your COO here at Championship Online Racing Association. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us in the booth here tonight. We hope that you enjoy your family trip in Canada, and most importantly, we hope that your team doesn't necessarily lose from all of your friends here in America.
Yeah, 10-4. And I want to thank you guys for allowing me the time up in the booth there this evening. It's been a great time. It's one of my first times I've ever been able to be on the air with you guys, and I really appreciate everything you guys do, and it's been an exciting race listening to you. And I want to thank all the fans out there who have been watching the Border Wars, and please enjoy the rest of the race. I will be here listening to the race, but I will no longer be in the booth for the rest of the night, and appreciate everybody and what they're doing tonight.
Kevin McCarthy, your CORA COO. I am sure, undoubtedly, we will have you back here for one of the Sunday Money series coming up real soon.
10-4, and thanks again, gentlemen, and I wish all the drivers tonight good luck, and I'll be back at the end of the month for one of the races. I'll be joining in for you guys in the race, I believe, at Watkins Glen. I will be running the Watkins Glen. I believe it's the Indy cars at Watkins Glen, so I will be in that race and look forward to that. And thanks again, gentlemen. Have yourselves a good evening and take care.
Kevin McCarthy, your COO here at Chicken Chip Online Racing Association, arguably one of the busiest men here behind the scenes. They are getting done with the halftime caution. While they get them sorted out, let's go ahead and step away from the microphone and bring you the second half of the Border Wars here from Talladega Superspeedway. You are watching ETV Live's live coverage of the CORA Border Wars. Stay tuned, race fans. A whole half of racing left to go. Home of the ETV Live Radio, the HD Radio Network gives you a variety of stations to choose from, including Big 80s Metal, All HDR Country, and more. Take your pick and rock your brains out, brother. HD radio stations are featured on iTunes Radio, TuneIn Radio, and also listed on the Windows Media Guide. Listen today at hdradionetwork.com or take it with you to go. Download the mobile app from tunein.com on the App Store or Google Play. So the pace car is still on track. It is the lights are off though, so we are going to go back to green flag racing in just a moment once they get everything sorted out on track. It will be Craig White and Nick Doucette, the Canadian power duo, continuing to control this race. Behind them, Team America, Alan Larson and Everett Lane working in row number 2. Michael Johnson and TJ Graves, another grouping from the United States, will start in row number 3, and then it's Travis Brown. It's going to be Travis Brown, Joel Wood in the 79 machine, Travis Brown in the 33, Neil Thompson and Sean Bradley runs out your top 10 on the field. Still plenty of racing to go, and still anybody's race. Anybody can win it, but tonight, again, not about payout, not about positioning, all about pride. Halftime is over. We're back to green flag racing in just a moment, and once again, the Canadians control the front row.
Yeah, Craig White in the lead, holding it back, keeping the distance from the pace car. The pace car is in there, working their way through the tri-oval, and Craig White's going to try to time this to where he can hook up with Nick Doucette as quickly as possible so that they can try to pull out on these Americans as they literally wait for the green flag to drop right at the end of the restart box. The 51 of Doucette ducks in behind Craig White. And I tell you what, those were 3 rows of American painted trucks right behind that front row, the red and white. And so it is Team Canada 1-2 in this race right now. Alan Larson and Everett Lane, who have worked together most of this race, find themselves in 3rd and 4th, and they are in line, not quite set up in a tandem yet. However, they're going to make another run once again, I'm sure, before long. And I tell you what, Joe, I just want to say I think that was a good call for the officials to say, you know what, we're under caution, might as well take care of the ordering and take care of that halftime caution right now, because that lets these drivers stay in a rhythm rather than go green and go yellow again so abruptly.
51 laps to go when we cross the line. Nick Doucette and Craig White, second and first respectively. The Yankees trying to get something figured out there. Alan Larson, Everett Lane, getting some help from TJ Graves. 3 American cars proudly sporting the red, white, and blue, trying to catch up to the 2 Maple Leaf runners, Doucette and White. Both those cars trying real hard to get up front, or to stay up front. Meanwhile, the Yankees behind them doing everything they can to chase them down.
Yeah, this might be a situation where people might have swapped partners in the middle of that little halftime break. As Everett Lane, I basically just told it as a given that he would work with Alan Larson. However, that's not the case. We see Everett Lane working with TJ Graves for the first time this afternoon, and Alan Larson has faded back to Michael Johnson. So Michael Johnson, Alan Larson working together in 5th and 6th. In 3rd and 4th, we've got TJ Graves and Everett Lane, and Nick Doucette, Craig White still in control up front. Craig White leading the way. Probably going to see a switch out of them in the next lap or two.
Wouldn't surprise me if we see that switch coming very, very quickly. Once again, these guys have been running tandem style all throughout this field, very much as you would see in like the Nationwide Series. These guys are able to make these tandems go fast, go left, and work as hard as they need to in order to get around this track. So everybody seems to be in conservation mode right now, with the exception of the 2 Yankees now making a run. It's the 1, it's the 50. These guys are in a hurry to get up front and at least lead a lap to show a little bit of American muscle out there. Everybody else content to run quietly, to run throughout this field a little bit more hesitantly, and that's not a bad thing. I think they're saving it up for the big finish, which will come in less than 50 laps.
Yeah, what you saw right there, as we have caution on the track towards the back, the 48. Mark McFadden is around, the 48 car truck, rather, goes around. Looks like the 74 was pushing the 48 and sent him into the 13 down the track. The 13 sent upside down in the catch fence. And that's a wreck that broke out basically in the second pack. And it's going to bring out this caution a little bit past halfway. And that took out a few good amount of trucks that are going to need to fix some damage and take that reset right now if they have it still available to them.
Replay's now going. You see the 48 and the 74. The 74 just gets a little aggressive, touching the 48. 48 nowhere to go, into the 13. And the 13's the one I'm watching, because look what happens to his truck. Stuck in the safer barrier, and ultimately as he tries to get that unwedged, that's going to get him caught in the catch fence. So the 13 of Sean Bradley, once again, is not able to, or having a hard time out there. He's going to use his second reset of the evening. Let's see if we can take that replay one more time from the perspective of the 13 machine inside that machine, just because I think that's kind of a fantastic wreck that he gets himself into. But more fantastically, he still has that reset left to him. You watch it upside down on board. That is not what you want to be looking at when you're supposed to be racing on track at 190 miles per hour.
Yeah, Sean Bradley has that reset, as you mentioned. However, he might lose a lap as these leaders come back around, because he did have to tow from turn 1, and so that is a mighty long tow. And so that's one of the things you have to look out for, even with these resets. And that's why you don't want to find yourself in a wreck. And so most of these drivers deciding to stay out, but a couple coming back in towards the back and pack, including the 48 of Mark McFadden, who will be able to reset as well. Don't believe he has been involved in any previous wrecks, and he will get his damage squared away and be on his way and try to go at it again.
Mark McFadden also going down the attention of this pit crew right now. I've got a feeling the 48, as a result of this incident, will be scored at the tail end of this field. So pace, yellow flag out once again on the field. This is only the 3rd yellow flag, including the competition yellow flag we had to begin at the middle of this race. And for the first time in this race under a yellow flag, you've got the red, white, and blue proudly emblazoning up front. That is Everett Lane is leading right now. Craig White 2nd, TJ Graves 3rd, and Nick Doucette in 4th. So once again, the Canadians and Americans staggering it so they can start with each other and continue their tandem racing.
Yeah, the caution came out at the right time. where TJ Graves could be behind that one truck of Everett Lane. And TJ just really did a good job pushing Everett to the lead there. Not someone that has been working with Everett for most of this event. However, it surely worked out right there. And Everett will be in full control of this restart with the 50 on his tail. So that's a big advantage for them. Meanwhile, Craig White and Nicholas Doucette will be on the outside in second and fourth. So they will be able to push each other right from the drop of the green flag. And so some of these guys towards the back of the pack, we have looks like just a big cluster, I guess you could say, of American paint schemes filling out the middle of the field, and then a number of Canadian trucks just involved in that wreck just now, taking out the back end of the field.
You know, earlier we were talking about movies filmed in America, I was just saying in Canada, and there was a lot of great movies that were filmed in or around Canada, that were in around Canada. Films like Detroit Rock City, another great film. I'm sure no one would argue with. The Long Kiss Goodnight was up there. X-Men was filmed in Canada. A lot of great films. Gone in 60 Seconds. All great classic films shot above us in our neighbors from the north.
You know what I'm noticing more and more? You watch a movie, you travel on down to the IMDb website, and you realize, whoa, this movie set in New York City was filmed in Toronto. Yeah, that's something that happens a lot more than you would think. A lot of movies being filmed in Toronto, and a lot of TV shows, as our producer Laura points out, being filmed currently in Vancouver.
So, you know, Canada not short of entertainment, and the Canadians providing us entertainment once again out here on this track. Not necessarily for what anything they might be doing, in the Tinseltown or on TV, but you know, for their prowess and their driving ability, which is part of what they're supposed to be settling tonight. Who are the better drivers? And so far, we've seen an equal show of talent by both drivers from both sides of the border.
Yeah, it's certainly been a lot of interesting action up front. Certainly anyone's guess is who could win this race. Anyone in that lead pack has the ability to get that big run and take the checkered flag. But right now, Everett Lane up front. But what will be interesting to see is how that group works when Everett has to push TJ Graves. They're going to be working together for the first time, I believe, of this race with Everett pushing TJ. And so you want to make sure that netcode matches up correctly and you're able to push that car to the map that you are looking to. And so Alan Larson also working with Michael Johnson that run. Didn't get the run that he was looking for in the previous run, but we'll see if they could do a little bit work together a little bit better than the last run, be able to compete here. I think they've started figuring it out right before that caution came out. So I think we'll see the 78 and the 24 rejoin that fray up front.
The 74 of Ben Horrell will be the car that's going to start at the end of this lead lap. He's going to be the one that gets penalized for that incident out there, so he'll start at the very end. Sean Bradley in the 13 as a result of getting his car reset will go one lap down. Had to get a toad off of the catch fence there. What an incredible wreck for him, and it's a good thing he's got that second reset available to him so he can just get back out there and go back racing under these conditions. Lights are off. Green flag is about to fly in one lap. The Americans on the low side, Canadians on the high side, and here we are stuck in the middle with you.
That is a lot of American trucks filling out the third row, the fourth row, and the fifth row up until Neil Thompson will be restarting 10th, and we've got 5 Canadian trucks rounding out this field. So it's pretty interesting if you take a look at how these trucks are lined up for this restart. We'll see a lot of those Canadians hook up in the back, try to make that run up front, and we've got a line of 6 American trucks on the inside, 2 on the outside, and currently slated to run 6th and 8th on this restart. So TJ Graves running, I believe, the highest that he's run all race up here in this lead battle, as they will come to the green flag in less than a minute.
Less than a minute before we're back to green flag racing. The Canadians high, the Americans around them. The Americans could be getting their second win around this halftime position. Only time will tell if it will be a boon to their campaign or if it'll be a boom to their campaign. Bringing the red, white, and boom will be Everett Lane and TJ Graves on the inside. Outside of them will be the 38 of Craig White and Paul Doucette, the only two Canadians within the top 5, the only two Canadians, I believe, within the top 10. Pace car getting ready to make its way down pit road. It wants nothing to do with all these trucks. When we go back to green flag racing, here comes the pace car making its way down safely to get out of the way of what's going to be a shootout with 57 laps in, 58 in. When we go back to green flag racing, it'll be about 44 left to go in order to finish us out to see who's going to win it once and for all, the Americans or the Canadians. Green flag flies. Everett Lane wastes no time. He gets a jump. He leaves his teammate, dancing partner, behind. The 50 needs the help of the 24 if he wants to get up front. Then there's the 38, the 51, the 78. And these guys aren't sure where they're going to go, so they're going to just keep going wherever they can. Meanwhile, the 38 and the 51 sticking to the plan. These two helping each other out. And remember, the driver of that 51 machine, only 10 years old. That shows a lot of maturity and a lot of cognitive ability to not jump out, not dance around with anybody else, but work with your partner in line and ultimately push him back up front.
Yeah, it's an interesting setup going on down on the bottom right now as Alan Larson was possibly trying to work with TJ Graves, but TJ sticks it to the back bumper of that one of Everett Lane. And so Larson will be fading back a little bit now, having to work with someone else. Michael Johnson, who he worked with last restart, actually 3 trucks behind him right now. So that didn't work out for Alan Larson. A lot of times you think that 3-truck tandem could almost work out, but that truck in third just has his air disrupted and loses that momentum. But they're side by side, that lead battle. Everett Lane trying to hold on as Nick Doucette trying to push Craig White back up to the lead as they get that big run down the back stretch, approaching turn number 3.
Approaching turn number 3, these two working as hard as they can. 2 Yankees on the bottom, 2 Canadians on top. It's the one of Everett Lane getting the push from the 50 of TJ Graves. On top, Craig White and Nick Doucette. They're trying everything they can, but they're running out of horsepower in a hurry. They cross the line. It's going to be scoring lap 60 of 101. 42 laps left to go, and still anybody's race.
Yeah, absolutely. Approaching that 40 to go in just 2 laps, and they'll start feeling that desperation to be up front if they're having any trouble. Some of these guys actually, Ben Horrell, the 74, not able to keep up. Some of these guys a little bit damaged right now, but we've got that battle up front. Then we've got this big battle in the middle of the pack brewing as Michael Johnson has paired up with the 6 of Terry Hurley. Well, Terry Hurley moves up the track, and I'm not sure he might be looking to work with the 48. But there is quite a battle going on in the middle of the pack right now here with the 6. The 33 is shoving the 79. The 6 is behind the 78 of Michael Johnson. Oh, we've got a blown motor.
The 50 machine of TJ Graves, the engine is hosting that machine. He is forced to fall back through the field. TJ Graves, he pushed his partner too hard, and that's going to open the door for the Canadians. The 51 of Doucette, the 38 of White. Now the 24 trying to come to the rescue of the 1. Will he be able to? Yes, he will, but that's definitely going to hurt their chances out there. The 24 of the 1. 24 gives a nudge to the 1. Hey, I'm here for you, buddy. And they are back to racing. The 1 of Alan Larson still up front.
Yeah, when that happened, our Canadians in the top battle right there, Craig White and Nick Doucette lifted, gave each other a lot of room there, and that's how Everett Lane did not lose very much time on the track at all. And as Everett comes around, leads lap number 61, they start 62. Now he's back with Alan Larson working together again.
Alan Larson giving a push to Everett Lane. The Americans coming to each other's aid in that time, but don't count out the 51 and the 38 just yet. Now they're back on the high side, and they've got a run. I think they see the weakness out there on the American side. and they want to exploit it at best they can. The 11-year-old phenom, Nick Doucette, back up front, only on paper, though, as they try to bank the pass. Won't happen. He'll have to settle for second, maybe third.
Yeah, as we see a lot of smoke on the racetrack, but no oil on the track. The truck is making its way down pit road as that is TJ Graves about to pull it behind the wall. Probably too much damage to fix that engine. As we watch Alan Larson, as actually a switch for that Canadian group, Nick Doucette now going to be pushing Craig White. We've seen Craig White lead a number of laps with Nick Doucette pushing. A lot of times a driver could be good at leading and hold a smooth wheel and do everything that he needs to do, but when you put him behind someone, it becomes a little trickier. He might not be as good of a pusher. However, Nick Doucette, only 11 years old, but he's been doing a good job. As they had a little bit of a close call there. Weren't sure if Alan Larson was going to keep it on the low side. The 38 thought about having to go to the middle, but the 24 pulled up, the 38 pulls low, and the 38, Craig White, takes the lead. But what I was getting at is Nick Doucette able to push and lead. So that's what you want in a drafting partner. That's why Craig White, Nick Doucette able to work together so well.
Next battle on the field is between the 66 and 13. That's Neil Thompson and Sean Bradley, Terry Hurley, and Mark McFadden, both down low. These Canadians the 4 Canadian trucks down here, and these guys know they need to start making some moves if they want to get out there and start helping their 2 brethren up front. The 4 machine out there of Garrett Atwell. He, I think, was the hardest loser out there as a result of that blown engine from the 50 machine of TJ Graves. The 50 and 4, 24 and 4 were working together going through the field, and 24 had to leave the 4 behind to get up to the number 1 machine to give him the boost and keep him up front. So that leaves the 4 with nowhere to go, no one to dance with, and he's got to hook up now with the 78 machine. That's Michael Johnson. If he wants to get back up front, and it looks like the 78 and 4 are going to hitch onto each other and try to make a run of it.
That just goes to show you just how important these tandem drafts are to get right, because he was only out of it. It was just about 3 laps ago that 50 truck with TJ Graves blew up. Garrett Atwell already 7 seconds behind the leader when he finally was able to get along into a tandem draft with Michael Johnson. And certainly they're going to have a hard time making up all that time to be able to get to the lead pack once again. However, there's a bunch of trucks battling for position in front of them. They'll be able to latch onto their draft here momentarily, and that'll be a 6-way battle from about 7th all the way back to 11th.
So as these guys run tandem in tandem, settling it out, we're going to go take a commercial break real quick and let these guys figure out how they want to go. The Americans now lead the Border Wars. For how long is yet to be seen. You are watching ETV Live's live coverage of the CORA Border Wars live from Talladega Superspeedway. Don't go anywhere, race fans. Still plenty of racing left to be had.
Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks. HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com. you're a serious online racing enthusiast, you need Derek Spear Design, maker of high-quality, custom-built, and 50-caliber strong simulation racing products like button boxes, shifter pedals, component parts, and more. The advantage a championship sim racing driver needs. Rated 10 out of 10 by Inside Sim Racing TV. Check out his line of top-shelf sim racing products reasonably priced at DerekSpearDesigns.com and buckle in for a no-nonsense ride. DerekSpearDesigns.com today, cowboy.
Welcome back to the CORA Border Wars here as it is heating up. As they come through turns 1 and 2 there, Alan Larson got separated from his teammate, came down in front of Nicholas Doucette, trying to maybe even separate those two Canadians, but Everett Lane now making that hard charge to the outside with the 50 of TJ Graves. Now TJ Graves back on the track after a reset, but he is actually 2 laps down. However, that's not going to stop him from helping out his teammates. That's Everett Lane trying to take the lead from Alan Larson, who he was working with moments ago.
Alan Larson on the low side, the one of Everett Lane on the high side. The Americans now starting to get smart, trying to contain the Canadians as best they can. The 24 slows up. He blocked the 51 blatantly to give the 1 and the 50 the advantage out there. The Americans not pulling any punches out there. They're making it work so they can get out front and control this race. Again, the 11-year-old Nick Doucette doing everything he can, saves the truck, saves the competition, and they are still running incredibly well. No matter where Nick Doucette finishes tonight, you got to know you have to be incredibly proud of what he's doing out there and how he's keeping that truck incredibly clean.
Yeah, you could see a lot of times these guys try to push someone else, and they're moving all over the track because of just how crazy the air is. And now they have a huge run to the outside. What I'm getting as Nick Doucette, one of the smoothest drivers on the track, and actually the youngest. So very impressive. Nick Doucette goes and takes the lead, getting help from the 38 Craig White. Put those two Canadians back out front. Just capitalizing on all that lost momentum as these Americans try to sort out who to work with right now. No one really working together all that well at the moment, but the 24 of Alan Larson gets in line behind Everett Lane. They have spent most of their races working together, and they will try to make another charge here. The front pack looking at 38 laps to go.
38 laps to go. The 38 and the 51 somehow found it within themselves to get that big run, get outside of the American blockade, and get back up front on this race. But now here comes the 1 and the 24. That's Everett Lane and Alan Larson. They've got the run on the outside. Now they're going to try to make a move. They are 2 by 2 onto the track, trying to make something move out there.
Side by side for that lead, but it's still Craig White out in front right now as Everett Lane looks to clear. If this was a finish, it'd be incredible. Looks like Everett Lane will lead that lap. Now we officially have 38 laps to go. This is quite the battle that's heating up here. A lot of people trying to sort out who they can work with. Travis Brown in the 33 ends up lining up with Joel Wood in the 79, making his presence known here. TJ Graves fading back, and Alan Larson finds himself pushing Everett Lane. So Everett Lane, I think he's a guy that has done a really good job leading, but now they're going to have to make this switch. Now Everett Lane's going to try to push Alan Larson up to the lead. We'll see how it works out. Of course, this gives a big run of that 79 and the 33 who come into view, but they become unlatched and will not be able to use up any of that momentum that they had to move on by these guys. So the two Canadians remain out front. Then we've got 4 trucks with that United States flag livery.
The rest of Team Canada now relegated to around 7th and 8th place out there. It's a 6 of Terry Hurley, the 48 of Mark McFadden, the 66 of Neil Thompson, the 13 of Sean Bradley, and the number 4, Garrett Atwell is an American truck. But still, you're arrested 4 of the 6 Canadian drivers out here stuck in no man's land right now. 8 seconds between them and that lead pack. They need something to happen. They might need a yellow flag in order to go back up and help their Canadian brethren out. Meanwhile, it's a battle of 2 by 2 as they continue to do battle out there on the track. it is going to be the number 24 of Alan Larson, the number 1 of Everett Lane, first and second. 2 Yankees, and immediately behind them, 2 Canadians, Paul Doucette and Craig White, third and fourth.
Yeah, Everett Lane doing a real good job of pushing Alan Larson, keeping him out front right now. And we saw Everett Lane leading for quite a while. That gets his oil and water temperatures down to where he could be pretty aggressive with his pushing right now. And something that these guys want to look out for is as we approach the end of this race, especially if we stay green, they want to keep their temperatures low enough that they could push that last run as long as humanly possible, or mechanically possible, I should say. And so these guys want to keep their trucks. The more they switch right now, probably the better, because then they'll be able to really shove their partner when it comes down to the end of this race.
And that's exactly what you need. You cannot afford to have an engine blow. You cannot afford to have something catastrophic happen to those cars. If they do, that's going to be all she wrote. And with this few laps left in the race, you're not going to be able to rescue it later on in the race. 24-1, make the tandem switch. And once again, it's a 51 and 38 back on the low side and back moving forward. And they are doing everything they can to see the 38 staggering with the 51 to try to get the cold air inside his engine and keep the temperature cool enough where he's not going to blow an engine. If he blows an engine now, that could be catastrophic for Team Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. As Craig White and Nick Doucette seem to have this tandem stuff figured out, where they've been doing a good job all race switching before their temperatures get too high. But right now is basically a 4-truck battle up front, and then it's just quite a gap between the engine difficulties and a couple of the other trucks fading backward. It looks like the top 4 trucks for most of this evening find themselves in the top 4 with just over about 33 laps to go. So go figure, the cream always rise to the top. And the 24 of Alan Larson and the number 1 of Everett Lane duck down to that bottom lane, take away the line from Doucette and White, who make that switch. So put Craig White up in front of Nick Doucette, and they keep a little space between them right now. I think it's a little bit of a smart strategy right there. I think Nick Doucette's keeping his engine a little bit cooler before he starts pushing that 38 of Craig White once again. They could latch onto that draft in front of them, so might as well be a little bit conservative. I like what they're doing.
Right now, there's not a whole lot of urgency for these guys. The 1 and 24 has still have plenty of time on their side. We're only scoring lap 79 of 101. But that being said, there's still a lot of urgency for the guys behind them. What do I mean by that? 22, when we cross the line, it'll be 22 laps to go before we crown a winner here in the Border Wars. And with all that happening, you got to start thinking, when do I make my move and when can I make my move so it's a permanent move and I don't have to worry about anybody behind me. 22 laps to go, not that time. But before you know it, it's going to be 16 laps to go. It's going to be 11 laps to go. It's going to be 6 laps to go. And at that point, you really got to start wondering, when and how do I make my move?
Yeah, in fact, when I was mentioning how many laps to go, I was off by 10 the last 2 times. It's an awkward mathematical mistake that you would not expect me to make. However, yeah, I think these guys are really showing a lot of patience right now. They know, you know what, it's between us. Basically 1 against 1, obviously 2 against 2 right here. But these guys will be looking to work together. Everett Lane having to make the switch goes high. Alan Larson goes high with them. That opens the door for Craig White and Nick Doucette to move their way to lead this race. And so Doucette the pusher, Craig White the pushy. Craig White will come around and lead this lap. But Larson and Lane able to pull off that switch pretty seamlessly, get back in line there, lash back together, and now they're going to make a nice big run to get that lead.
They get the lead, they get it in convincing fashion, but how much longer can they run it? It's going to be 21 laps to go at this juncture, 20 to go when they cross the stripe in a half a lap. It's Doucette pushing Craig White, now Larson and Lane. They're going to try to take advantage of that position as they make the tandem switch once again. It's a 51, has to get way out of the way as the 24-1 get the lead back this time by. And these guys have got a time zone over the rest of the field. They're only maybe not even 4/10 of a second between each other. Michael Johnson, Garrett Atwell, 12 seconds behind. Neil Thompson and Travis Brown, 13 seconds behind. Terry Hurley, Mark McFadden, Sean Brady, 15, almost 15 seconds behind. You see it on the blimp cam right here, just how staggered this entire field is out there. All still 2x2 racing, but it may not matter unless the yellow flag collects this entire field again, because Larson, Lane, Doucette, and White, they have control over this field. They have absolute control of what happens to their own destiny here on out.
Yeah, a lot of times when you see these switches being made, the car will get out of the lane of the tandem that is just really coming fast. And so that is something where these guys can kind of mess with each other towards the end of the race. As a caution coming out towards the back of the pack here, big wreck entering turn number 1, I believe. The 6 trucks involved, a number of others. Big wreck, actually turn number 3, problems for the 6, the 50, the 48. As the 6 came down, caught the 50, they all go around.
6 comes down to try to pass with the 48, and that's going to cause a 4-car pile up. The 74, nowhere to go. He's going to plow right through that one and have major damage on his car. The 6 gets straight into the 50. You see it on the replay right now, and so it opens up the door for the 74. All 3 of those trucks, heavy damage, and I believe the only the only 2 that have had to use a reset are Ben Horrell in the 74 and TJ Graves in the 50. So that's going to be both of their second resets. Terry Hurley in the 6, that'll be his first reset on this field. Heavy damage, but if you know what, if you were the guys trailing towards the back of this field, this is exactly what you want to see.
Oh yeah, that really changes the complexion of this race, gives these guys a second shot, as Ben Horrell almost had it missed, decided to stay full throttle on that one, see if he could clear it in the middle of 3 and 4. You don't know how quickly those guys are going to come back up on the track, not able to do so. Heavy damage for the 74, so that changes everything, Joe.
This changes everything for a lot of guys. Now everyone's going to come down to the attention of their crews. Under the yellow flag, go ahead and make those final changes. It's Alan Larson in the 24 leading them down pit road. Nick Doucette in the 51. Everett Lane, first one to the attention of his crew. He's flanked by the 78 and the 4. And no tires for the 1. It looks like just fuel. Fuel only for the 4. Fuel only for a lot of those guys. And the first one off pit road is going to be Nick Doucette, who only took fuel in the 51 machine.
Yeah, tires not being a factor. These drivers just want enough fuel in their truck so they can make it to the end. I do believe it was a 1 pit stop race. Had we stayed green, they would have had to gas and go. However, they get the benefit of doing that under caution right now. Big winner on pit road, though. Neil Thompson comes out of the pits in second position. But I think Craig White, who will be restarting third, is probably going to pair up with Nick Doucette, who they've been working together all race. So why not? Why change anything now? Keep a good thing go rolling here.
That will be 3 Canadian cars way up front. Doucette, Thompson, White, and then Alan Larson, Everett Lane, Garrett Atwell behind them. So 3 Americans, 3 Canadians, and that's going to mean a whole lot of competitive racing. Harry, if you're the Canadian team, what's your mindset and strategy now, knowing that you control the top 3 spots?
I think the problem is going to be with Neil Thompson. He's probably going to fade back, ends up working with Mark McFadden. But I think if you're Nick Doucette, you got to stay with what's been working with you all race. Craig White, Nick Doucette been working well together all race. I think that's gonna stay the same. It's gonna be hard for 3 people to work together. It's really gonna be 2 on 2 on 2 on 2.
Now, if you're the American team running 4th, 5th, and 6th, what are you thinking right now, and what do you need to do to get up front and get a run going?
Well, I think it's been interesting because we've seen various different combinations between Everett Lane and then Al Larson and the 24. I think the main thing is you don't want to lose too much ground early on. I think you need to commit to a partner pretty quickly, unless there's like the rare situation where you could do a seamless switch and work with someone else. So I think Everett Lane, Al Larson, a lot of these guys have to know who they're going to work with right off the bat, so that they can really capitalize, put together a bunch of good laps, get into a rhythm, switch when they need to, and not lose too much ground. So I think you'll see Everett Lane and Alan Larson stick together. We saw them split up halfway through the race, but then come back together. And I think for them to have a shot at this, they're really going to have to work together well right from the start.
And that's going to mean these guys are going to have to figure out some strategy and teamwork as they get ready to go back to green flag racing. They will go back around lap 87 plus or minus, which leaves less than 20 laps left to go on this field. It will be Nick Doucette up front, Neil Thompson, Craig White, first, second, third, all Canadian trucks. Alan Larson, Everett Lane, Garrett Atwell, fourth, fifth, and sixth, all Americans. The rest of your field shakes up as follows. It'll be Mark McFadden, seventh, Michael Johnson, eighth, Travis Brown, ninth, Joel Wood, 10th, Sean Bradley, Terry Hurley, Ben Horrell, all at least one lap down, and TJ Graves still running, albeit 4 laps down on his second reset, and that reset not looking strong for him. He's still sitting in his pit stall right now.
Yeah, certainly TJ Graves' truck heavily damaged. We saw him have to reset. Before that blown engine, might have had a reset other than that. And so TJ Graves basically not a factor in this race right now. We've got 10 on the lead lap.
Sean Bradley getting the wave around. He will be the lucky dog of this period, and he is going to get his lap back. So 11 trucks on the lead lap, but all eyes are going to be on the top 3 and the top 3 up front and the top 3 behind them. The top 3 Canadian trucks up in the top 3 positions, and the top 3 U.S. trucks behind them as well. It's going to make for some very entertaining racing, as these guys are going to be using all of their team dynamics to make sure that their side gets the win.
Yeah, we should get the lights off on the pace car this time by get to 1 to go. And I'm really interested to see what happens with Neil Thompson here, because he hasn't been up here in a while. He's been working with a few other guys. Certainly we've seen Doucette and Craig White together most of the entire race. So Neil Thompson going to have to find a partner real quick. Be interesting to see too if maybe we have a Canadian truck hook up with an American truck, and then see what happens there at the end of the race as they decide to go. Maybe separate. Maybe try to race them out between the two. But anything can happen here. It'll be really interesting.
Anything can happen. Anything can work out here. It's all a matter of how it's going to work and when it's going to work. Pace lights still remain on, so we have 1 more lap to go before we are green flag racing.
Yeah, and TJ Graves, his truck is so horrendously damaged, was able to pull it off of pit road, but he might as well park it at this point. That truck will not be able to get up to speed, and he's going to bring it back in this time by probably fix him as much damage as he could take care of, and then see what he could do at the end of this race. But we've got 4 trucks a lap down or out. In fact, I think we only have 1 truck out of the race. 3 are a lap down or more. Up by the 11 on the lead lap. Most recently, Sean Bradley got that lucky dog back on the lead lap after that reset. Last caution.
A lot of exciting racing, a lot of great fodder. I'm sure that we'll be talking about Tuesday night. Don't forget, join the Cowboy, J.D. Webb, Jimmy North, and Evan Bosco and the whole crew Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. for an hour of rewind, looking back at previous broadcast events, guest interviews, drama on topic, never too hot to touch. The boys ramp it up in the BS and Back Talk segment with thoughts and opinions on some of the topics in the online racing arena. It's fun and entertaining, no rules, no BS. Rewind BS Back Talk, 9 p.m. Tuesdays on ETV Live Radio, and I'm sure tonight's finish, whether it be for either side, will be a point of contention for the boys when they talk Tuesday night at 9 p.m. on ETV Live Radio. So with the pace car coming back around, coming down to the stripe, this should be the last lap under caution. This should be it. We should be going green flag racing on lap 88, plus or minus it is. So we're going to go green flag racing in just 1 more lap. Nick Doucette up front, Neil Thompson second, Craig White third, all Canadian cars. Alan Larson fourth, Everett Lane fifth, Garrett Atwell sixth, all American cars. Mark McFadden, Michael Johnson, Travis Brown, Joel Wood, your top 10. And then the Canadian cars in the back, Sean Bradley, Terry Hurley, Ben Horrell. These guys need to get up front to help out their Canadian brethren. Will they be able to do so on this restart? We'll find out in just half a lap. Terry Hurley, as a result of that accident, will be credited and we've given an end of the longest line penalty. He will start at the tail end of this field, which puts him down even further. He's already 1 lap down. That's just going to hurt him even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we come to this restart, they're going to take the green, about 14 laps to go. And that might not seem like much, but that's about 12 minutes here around Talladega, so it gives these guys a lot of time. They're going to be biding their time early on in this run before they really start racing aggressively. 14 laps here sounds short, but it could take a while. And so I'll be really interested to see in where the 66 goes, and possibly see if Alan Larson ends up pushing the 66 for quite a while. Alan Larson's got Garrett Atwell behind him, who he hasn't really worked with all race. And he hasn't worked with Neil Thompson either. However, Neil has a good track position, and so those mismatched pair tandems could be really, really interesting here coming down to the end of this race.
Mismatched pair tandems will only be loyal to each other so long as they benefit each other, and I've got a feeling that mutual benefit is going to end very quickly. TJ Graves remains on pit road. For all intents and purposes, his night could be done. We'll have to see, and we'll have to keep an eye on him as they get ready to go green flag racing in just moments. Pace car pulls down pit road, wants nothing to do with a shootout we're about to see. It's Nick Doucette's field once he flies the green flag. Once he sees the restart, they've got it. He's got the hammer down, and the 51 gets the jump. It's going to be the 38 immediately behind him, giving him the hand out there. The 66 nowhere to go. He's going to try to hold them off as long as he can before he jumps in line with them, and we are back to green flag racing, currently scoring lap 88, 22 laps left to go.
And actually, something interesting on the inside, we have Alan Larson and then the 4 making contact there. The 4 just not pushing Alan Larson quite at the right time. Alan Larson gets sideways, but the 1 truck stuck on the shot to the 66 of Neil Thompson, but nowhere to go. That is Everett Lane working together with the 48 of McFadden, but they just simply boxed in right now, nowhere to go. Everett Lane not pairing up with Alan Larson as quickly as I thought he would, as Larson right now working the outside with Atwell, and they will try to get this run and catch the 2 Canadian trucks out front, Craig White and Nick Doucette.
A minute ago I said 22 laps to go. That is really wrong. My abacus was totally off. I was missing a beat out there. It's only 12 laps to go at this juncture. Doucette and White continue to lead. Alan Larson, Garrett Atwell now working together. The 66-48 trying to be of as much help as they can to their Canadian bedfellows out there. Not going to work. Everett Lane going to get the boost now from Travis Brown. 3 wide behind them, the 79, the 78, the 48. We're 3 wide temporarily. Now they're going to fall back in line. The 66 of Neil Thompson. Valiant effort. He was a little engine that turned into a little truck that couldn't. Now back up front in box formation. 2 by 2 they go. And it is going to be at the line. Nick Doucette? No. Alan Larson in front. Nick Doucette in second. Garrett Atwell third. Craig White fourth. 2 by 2. The Americans and Canadians battling it out.
You know, as we get further and further into this race, it's been pretty clear Doucette and White, the only 2 who have really spent the entire race working with each other. I'm not sure if we've seen Atwell and Larson working together too much. Larson just gets kind of a shot, blocks the inside lane, goes to the bottom, decides to, you know what, I don't want to put myself in a bad position with the difference in momentum here. Larson goes back to the outside, going to meet up with Garrett Atwell here in a moment, but that helps the 51. Doucette in control out front. And we saw a couple weeks ago Doucette be pretty defensive there at Richmond running the late models here in the Sunday Money Series. And so we know Doucette can get defensive, but we haven't seen him blocking in this race. He hasn't really needed to at all. He's been playing it smart. And so the 38 making a switch with the 51. The 51 decides to stay high, and 38 of White meets him there on the outside line. But the 24 gets turned by the 4, a bad push. And I'm not sure if we have the caution yet. I think we have actually stayed green, but that's going to make Garrett Atwell lose his partner as he sends around the 24 of Larson.
The 24 did have some rear right damage on that truck before it all happened. Let's take a look at the replay and see exactly how it happened. The 4 looks like he just mismanaged the pass to the 24 and gives him the old pit maneuver to spin him around and around and around, and that could very effectively give this race to the Canadian tandem. Up front, no yellow flag. We are still green flag racing. It is going to be Craig White in front, Nick Doucette in second. Now here comes Everett Lane and Travis Brown, third and fourth. The next Americans to challenge the 2 Canadians on the top of the hill.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of aggressive bump traps on the 24 car, which eventually led to that with Garrett Atwell, but Garrett falling out of the view right here as we have Everett Lane and Travis Brown, who I didn't think would be able to catch back up to that lead pack after falling about 2 seconds back. A little bit of lost momentum is all you need. They're not latched together right now, but Travis Brown back into the fray here as he worked with Everett Lane. Just seems like this constant combination of different tandems working out. They go for the switch here, third and fourth. Everett Lane going to have to tuck back in behind the 33 and be the pusher, as there are currently 9 laps to go. And that is Craig White leading the race over Nick Doucette. And also coming into view, the 79 of Joel Wood and the 78 of Michael Johnson, right now 5th and 6th. Huge run down the backstretch, up to 203 miles an hour. Question is, will they have a place to put their trucks at the end of this run as they catch the leaders here? We're looking at 2 wide for the lead after the Canadians do the switch. Nick Doucette back out front, but Michael Johnson has to switch with Joel Wood. So switching all over the place, these guys. Be interesting to see right at the end of this race if they're having to switch this much when they try to make it work for a few extra laps right at the end. Who can make their engines last?
8 laps left to go at this juncture, and all you got to do is make your truck run 8 more laps. It don't matter after tonight. You can burn it up after tonight because it's only about what happens in the next 7.5 laps. Travis Brown getting the push from Everett Lane up top. Craig White giving the push to Nick Doucette down below, 2 by 2. They continue to battle side by side. More Americans behind them. Michael Johnson, Joel Wood, Mark McFadden, and Neil Thompson, the next Canadian duo, trying to get it figured out there. As the 6 now on pit road. It looks like more damage for the 6 machine of Terry Hurley. Not sure what happened to him, but he might have gotten wrecked out. We'll keep an eye on it and come back to you when we know more. Meanwhile, up front is a battle for the lead and the win in the Border Wars. Now Nick Doucette has the advantage. The 38 has the advantage with him. 50 getting passed on all sides. As a result, leaders remain clean.
Yeah, Everett Lane doing all he can to push that 33 truck of Travis Brown. However, needing to switch already, Travis Brown stays high. We'll tuck back behind the 1 truck as we see the 2 Canadian trucks having to switch at the same time. Nick Doucette, Craig White, and the 1 truck gets a good run on the bottom, but this becomes a race of who can latch onto their partner quicker, and Nick Doucette does a really good job of getting onto the bumper of his teammate White. And the 1 truck nowhere to go. They are single file, 4 deep on the bottom. Michael Johnson and Joel Wood behind these guys in 5th and 6th, but not latched together right now, and that's going to hurt them. Might run out of time. There's only 6 laps to go, not enough for them to make it up. So we have a 4-truck battle for this lead. 2 Canadians, 2 Americans. Everett Lane looking high, but Travis Brown simply not there to push him on through.
6 laps left to go, 5 when we cross the start-finish line. The Canadians still strong up front. Craig White, Nick Doucette. Is anybody going to challenge them? Everett Lane, Travis Brown now. At least 4 truck lengths between those 2 cars. The 1 and 33 may have to get into some dangerous mix if they want to try to get caught up with them and try to push up front. They cross the line. 5 to go as they cross the line. It will be the 1. They're going to check that. The 51, the 38 still in front of this field, and with a commanding lead over the 1 and the 34. 24 of Alan Larson still running, but severely damaged. His night is, in all intents and purposes, over. Michael Johnson now getting the push from Joel Wood as these guys trying to catch up to your leaders, but your leaders have checked out on this field, and now all they have to do is play defense to win this race. 4 to go when they cross the line.
Yeah, these drivers more than likely are going to have to switch 1 more time to make it to the finish. and that will put Nick Doucette in a position to win this race potentially if his tandem is able to outrun the other tandems. But the 1 of Lane and the 33 of Brown able to get a pretty good run, but they decide to keep it low right now. They haven't moved high with it, as there is the switch. Nick Doucette going to take the lead. However, if he moves high here, that opens the door for Lane, the 1 truck on the bottom, looking to take the lead. However, the 38 of White puts it right back on the bumper of the 51. The 33 was not on the 1. And so there you see the Canadian team inch away, entering turn number 3. When they come back around, going to be 3 laps to go, and they did not lose the lead on the exchange.
They used the tandem draft to their advantage, did not. If they lost the lead, it was only temporary. Doucette continues to lead out here. 3 to go when we get to the line. Nick Doucette, Craig White doing everything they can to secure the win for Team Canada. The 11-year-old phenom continues to lead on this race. It's going to be Everett Lane, Travis Brown. They're going to make the switch, taking a lot of time on that switch, and that is going to lose them some position, but it doesn't matter because Travis Brown still working with Everett Lane to make it happen. Joel Wood, Michael Johnson starting to catch up. Neil Thompson and Mark McFadden trying to do everything they can to help their Canadian brethren. Not going to happen. Only one more truck on the lead lap. That's Sean Bradley in the 13 machine. Only 9 trucks remain on the lead lap, doing everything they can to try to get up front, try to make the moves to get out there. Nick Doucette will cross the line one more time. Popsicle sticks fly, 2 to go.
Yeah, these guys are going to have to be wary of their temperatures. Garrett Atwell running the low side. They're going to actually switch for the lead right here. I think that they saw that their temperatures were a little higher than they wanted. Nick Doucette gets behind the 38 of Craig White. That gives an opening to Travis Brown, the 33, the 1 of Everett Lane. They are side by side for the lead. Advantage to the outside there. Big run for the 33. They come down in front of the 2 Canadians. The 1 truck gets turned with a great save, and that's going to be interesting up there because now the leader has no drafting partner. However, we have Joel Wood and Michael Johnson entering into the fray as well. The 38 got blocked, put into a bad position by the 1 truck, held his line, stayed in the gas. Contact again. Joel Wood comes down into the 38 of Craig White, I believe, and gets spun around. I don't believe we have a caution from that. We're on the final lap, and they're going to remain green.
51 and 33 now making contact. This will be the race for the win. 1 more lap to go. Yellow flag. The yellow lights are on around the track, but these competitors up here don't seem to care. They're still going at it 100 miles per hour. Nick Doucette immediately on the back bumper of Travis Brown. Travis Brown showing no interest in giving rid of this lead. Nick Doucette all over his bumper. He's got to find a way around to secure the win for Team Canada. Now 51 goes high. It's going to be a drag race down the front stretch. The 11-year-old phenom is right with him. The 33 pushes him up, gets into him. The 51 now spins him around. Your 2 leaders around. 51 spinning like a top. 33 will take the win on paper, but what a finish.
Nick Doucette probably not too happy right now. What happened there was the 33 kept running him up and up the track until he eventually just simply came up and turned him. The 51 out of control comes back down the track, turns the 33 head onto the fence, somewhat reminiscent of Terry Labonte in 1996 with Dale Earnhardt. Wreckers and checkers, you don't have to choose, you got both.
Let's take the replay from the trackside camera down out there, and you see it, the 51 and 33 coming in incredibly hot. The 33 runs him up the track. 51 didn't want to budge. 51 ends up getting bumped by the 33, gets him loose, and both of those trucks end up into the wall, nose first. Let's take it from another angle. Let's see if we can get an angle watching these guys come across the line. The 51 uses momentum to get him across the 33. Lucky that the 78's nowhere near either of those trucks. 33 will be the winner on paper. This is all unofficial. The 51 in second, and Michael Johnson, who had a quiet race all night long, will finish in third. I'll be honest with you, Harrison. I've called a lot of these races. I've been doing this since 2005. I've called races with the names of likes of Brad Keselowski, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Martin Truex Jr., and this is the first time I have seen an ending of this magnitude.
Yeah, it gets tight right at the end of these races. And Michael Johnson had one heck of a view, as we're about to see on the replay here. Running in third, stayed full throttle, trying to capitalize on this. Two trucks getting together, just wasn't close enough to be able to get the lead. But Michael Johnson with a solid result nonetheless. But Super Speedway Racing, the 33 of Travis Brown knew that if he did not get really defensive there, he had the race lost. And so he had to do something different. And he used up Nick Doucette, but he gets the win. And that is unofficial as of right now, but one crazy finish to the end of this one.
We are going to speak with the officials to get the official word on how this race ended. In the meantime, race fans, we will talk to your top three and your top three finishers. We will recap this in crazy race and go over that wild finish from the perspective of both drivers. Points finish unofficial at this point. Travis Brown up front, or Nick Doucette second, Michael Johnson third. When we come back, we will sort it all out for you and talk to your top three of the CORA Border Wars.
Hey, JD here with ETV Live, and let me tell you something. If it's too big for the pickup truck and you need to move it, there's only one trucking company you need to call, and don't bother with the Yellow Pages Cowboy. I'll give you that number in a minute. Manufactured goods, automotive, technical equipment, furniture, even if you need a reefer, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated is the only choice, Cowboy. With locations in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, Rancho Cucamonga, California, if you need to move it, store it, and keep it cold, you need to call Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated. Long haul, short haul, or just across town, Gary Mercer has the best trained and qualified drivers to get your load from point A to point B with professionalism and on time. So remember, Hoss, if it don't fit in a pickup truck, you're going to need a real truck, Cowboy. Sponsors of ETV Live's Friday Night Showdown, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated, 1-800-668-2980.
It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Travis, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 to the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.com.
The border wars coming to an end. You are watching the outcome of the last lap from the perspective of Travis Brown and Nick Doucette. Crazy driving all the way to the end through the point of impact. Officials handing us the standings. Travis Brown, your winner as a result of that crazy finish. Nick Doucette second, Michael Johnson third, Everett Lane fourth, Mark McFadden rounds out your top 5. Neil Thompson 6th, Sean Bradley 7th, Joel Wood 8th, Craig White 9th, and Alan Larson round out your top 10. Garrett Atwell, Ben Horrell, Terry Hurley, TJ Graves, and Cecil Jackson, the 15 drivers that came to battle here at the Border Wars at CORA. What an incredible race. What an even more incredible finish. You watch it all here live on ETV Live. Your winner in that race, Travis Brown, representing the USA, walks away with a big first place victory. Fireworks going off down in victory lane for Travis Brown. And Travis, before we talk about anything else, let's talk about that last lap finish. What happened from where you were sitting?
Well, we came off a 4 and had a heck of a push from Nicholas. I know we're from opposite teams, but he hung with me and we had a good run coming off a 4, and he tried the slingshot and I went up the block, and then we side drafted, and then we just were beating and banging, and at that point I wasn't going to lift, so I kept my foot in it and managed to slide across first.
At what point did you, when you were sliding and spinning, were you concerned this might cost me the race? Or did that thought ever cross your mind?
About the time I hit the walls when that crossed my mind. I just didn't know who could sneak by, and I knew Mike was in third, but I didn't know exactly how far back he was.
But it seemed to absolutely work out in your favor. The Americans seem to have been outnumbered and underpowered through that. How were you able to find your way up front, especially when it mattered, when it was most important?
Just, I can't really take all the credit for this. I got to give Everett and Michael and Joel and Garrett and everybody on this American team. We all worked great together, and, it was really a team effort.
It definitely seemed to be a team effort from you guys. We saw you drafting with Alan Larson earlier in the race, and we saw you and Alan working together. When the 24 dropped out as a result of getting spun, how concerned were you that could have been the end of the run for you guys?
I was pretty concerned because I was scared. I knew somebody was more than likely going to be the odd man out, so it just really worked out in my favor.
And right now it's a 1-3 American finish. Has to be a good feeling for you guys representing the USA.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Don't know how the points are going to add up here, but it should be good. I want to thank Bart Competition Karting for sponsoring me, padorg.com, Stay Alive, Don't Text and Drive. Thank David Wink at Storm TV and Storm Motorsports, and thank you guys, and James, Allen, and Kevin, Gordon, Colin, and Terry, all the guys at CORA for putting this great event on. It's a lot of fun.
Travis Brown, your winner here in the CORA Border Wars at Talladega Superspeedway. We will have reaction once we get the official points in hand. Meanwhile, it's Harrison Weidlitz caught up with your second place finisher, Nick Doucette.
Yeah, I'm here with Nick Doucette, who has shown himself to be a front runner almost just about each and every week here in the CORA series. And coming down those last couple of laps, there was a lot of contact leading to that finish, and then the finish coming down to Travis Brown and Nick Doucette. But Nick, run us through that crazy finish. Is there anything you could have done differently, and just how exciting was that from your vantage point?
Oh, well, first I'd like to thank you guys for doing this race, and CORA for all their effort that they did to put up this race. And this race was really hard for me in that race, and I'd really like to thank Craig, my partner. We worked the whole race. He kept me up front the whole race, and I'm happy for Travis. But yeah, those last few laps were pretty scary. There, we're all beating and banging apparently, and apparently Travis got his way through and he won. So yeah, good win there, Travis.
And you spoke about working with Craig White. I think out of all the tandems in this race, you and him were more consistently together than pretty much any other tandem in the field. And the thing I want to ask is how the temperatures were, if you found yourself having to switch more and more quickly throughout the race, or were you able to manage the temperatures where it wasn't really a big deal at all?
Well, we were pretty concerned there that one of us was going to blow up, because when the race builds up and our engines get a lot hotter, we can't really go that long with our gauges blinking, so we were concerned that we were both going to blow up. But we both managed to keep our engines good and safe, and yeah.
Looking at the Sunday Money series that's running just about each and every week, we've got races coming up in Charlotte with the late model, Watkins Glen with the IndyCar, Legends at South Boston. Is there any combination that you're really looking forward to run here in the point series?
I'm not really sure, because I have school on Mondays and it's really late here on the Sunday nights, so I think I'm probably looking more forward to the Charlotte and the late models.
Well, I tell you what, just short of victory tonight, but a really good run. Is there anyone you'd like to thank after a strong showing?
Well, like I said, I'd like to thank you guys, ETV, for broadcasting this race. I'd like to thank CORA, and again, a big thanks to Craig, my partner there, my Canadian partner in this race.
That's our second place finisher, Nick Doucette. I believe Joe is caught up with the third place finisher, who had a great view of all that battling in the last couple laps.
Michael Johnson in the 78 truck, finishing third, representing the United States. And let me ask you, Michael Johnson, you got a incredible view of everything that happened. What was crossing your mind as you watched the 33 and 51 nearly destroy their trucks at the end of this race?
Honestly, what was crossing my mind was I might get a victory here. So I'm beating and banging. I was getting real aggressive there towards the last 5 laps of the race. But all in all, I thought it was a good show. Third place, I'll take it. Representing the United States. Great concept, the Border Wars here. I really enjoyed it. I'd like to thank CORA for putting that on. Fast Lane for hooking me up with a great setup. I'd like to thank the Canadians for clean driving. And, great show. But, I was thinking maybe I'll get a victory here.
You came ever so close after having an incredibly quiet race tonight. What was your strategy coming into this one? A lot of people try to do different things at Talladega. Where were you at in the spectrum of strategy looking at this border war race?
My perspective of strategy was just try to help the Americans finish in front of the Canadians and keep my truck clean. I think that was my strategy. Of course, you always want to finish in top 3 or even win it. But a top 5 would have been good for me tonight. I just wanted to stay clean, get through to those last few aggressive laps, and then race it out.
And that strategy definitely seemed to work for you. This race was very unique in the fact that we had that competition halftime period. How did that affect your race planning or strategy, if at all? Did it?
It certainly did. When you have a halfway caution, you can take it easy in that first segment, not really race hard, knowing that you're going to be able to get your laps back, perhaps, and get back onto that lead lap and then race it out with the remaining 50 laps. So, there towards pit strategy was definitely playing into effect. We weren't sure when we were going to pit, so we kind of got lucky with that caution. But that was probably the toughest thing, is deciding when we were going to pit.
Deciding when to pit and how to pit was definitely seemed to be a point of contention for everybody out there. In that last pit stop, we had that one last yellow flag. In that last pit stop, we saw you got all of your services. Did that suffice, or could there have been more you could have done had you had more time?
There probably could have been more we could have done if we would have had a few more laps, I think. But all in all, I think it worked out. I don't know how the overall points total is going to work out to decide the overall winner. Hopefully it's USA. But, yeah, I think a few more laps would have definitely been good.
Finally, big finish for you. Big finish for Team USA. Points not official yet. How you feeling about USA's chances winning the Border Wars?
50-50 at this point. Looking at the scoreboard, I'm 50-50.
50-50 chance of winning it, everything. Real quick before I let you go, Mike, any shout-outs you want to give? Anything else you'd like to offer for our fans? It's all yours.
Yeah, just give a shout-out to Fastlane Racing, Everett, Joel, Travis, Martin, all the good guys. Thanks for the setup tonight.
That's Mike Johnson finishing third, representing Team USA in the 78 machine. Good run tonight, Mike. I'm sure we'll see you around here at CORA.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Now joining us down here in the booth, driver of that number 24 machine, Alan Larson, one of the guys who brought this all together. I know you have the points in that envelope right there, but Alan, before we begin to we reveal the points finish for the Border Wars, let's talk about tonight's race real quick. Incredible racing from incredibly talented drivers on both sides of the border.
Absolutely. Awesome race. It couldn't have been any better. Everybody was kind of thinking it might be a sleeper, but I really don't think it was. I think it turned out pretty good.
Now, this was a pet project of yours. We heard earlier in the race, talking to the COO here at CORA. How did this all come together, and how were you able to attract such a talented field here in Talladega?
Well, everybody on iRacing has talent, or they wouldn't be here for very long. It's just a lot of work, a lot of hosted rooms, and a lot of recruiting, and a lot of work. And a lot of these guys race with CORA regularly. Some of them are new, but you just kind of get out there and watch, and pick people out and talk to them, and just it's a lot of monotonous work.
A lot of monotonous work, but when you see it all come together like this, it definitely comes together, and it comes together in a big way. Big finish here tonight between Travis Brown and Paul Doucette. I'm sure you watched the replay as much as I did. Incredible racing, and what an incredible finish.
Incredible finish. I just wish I would have been up there, a part of it, man. I was having so much fun out there tonight.
Before we get to the points, last question. If someone people want to find out more about Championship Online Racing Association, where do they go?
They go to www.cora-racing.com.
CORA-racing.com, and all the information you need if you want to go racing at the Championship Online Racing Association, CORA-racing.com. CORA-racing.com, I should say. All right, Alan, we stalled enough. Open up the envelope. Tell us who was the winner of the Border Wars.
Well, coming in with 629 points to 619 points, USA takes the trophy.
Team America takes the trophy, but only by a handful of points. What? That's a finish you couldn't even make up if you wrote the ending. Incredible finish, and just speaks to the incredible talent on both sides.
Oh, absolutely. And what a race. And I hope we do this again real soon, because it was so much fun.
Alan Larson driving in the number 24 machine, and one of the men who brought together the Border Wars race. Alan, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for putting on such a great race. It was our treat to call it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You guys do an awesome job.
And that will conclude it as Team USA celebrates the big victory, taking home the first ever Border Wars trophy here at Championship Online Racing Association. My thanks go to all the drivers. Championship Online Racing Association, CORA-racing.com to find out more about them. On behalf of our entire broadcast crew, producer Laura Lawson, executive producer J.D. Roth. Check that. Yep. Our producer, Harris, or my partner in crime, Harrison Weidlitz. I am Joe Cortez, congratulating Team USA once again on a big finish in the Border Wars here at Talladega Super Speedway. We'll see you next time here on ETV Live.
5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV, live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.